You guys have been talking about how you've been working on preparing for this tempo since training camp started, but what are some of the ways you guys have done it, and how do you feel like your guys are doing, just catching up, working on that conditioning and things like that?
Well, I don't think it's I haven't been a problem at this point. You know, Buffalo ran the high tempo offense. So I thought we dealt with that well. So we worked in training camp, and I don't believe it'll be an issue.
The speed of this offense probably is much different in the NFL as like Oregon's was compared to other college teams. Is that accurate? I mean, did you kind of feel like it's not that as big a deal?
No, they do. First of all, they do a nice job. You know, what I've seen of them, of getting in and out of the huddle, to line it up. You know, they come to the line off the field. From what I've seen from film, you know, in past film, that they speed it up when they have to. They speed up in certain situations. And our guys understand that, and they understand what, you know, we have to get lined up, and we got the ability to, we'll get the calls in, and they'll be ready to play it.
Does the combination of this kind of the style of offense they run, plus this type of players they have, Deshaun, LaShawn, in open space, does it stress you more than most offenses would?
Well, they got good football players. You know, Michael Vick in space running around. He had 53 yards rushing the last preseason game by halftime. You know, that's a threat. Now, obviously, the receiver's a good football player. The running back's a heck of a football player, and they got one of the better lines in the National Football League. So, you know, just from their standpoint, from the talent alone, they got a lot of good football players.
Do you expect to have Brandon at strong safety?
Yeah, we'll see. You know, he worked a little bit yesterday. Hopefully, he'll be ready to roll.
And now it's a groin; it's not his knee that has him in question. Is that accurate?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
But you thought he did pretty well yesterday.
I thought he did pretty well yesterday.
Does the pace of the Eagles' offense, does that put more stress on London Fletcher? Does he have to be even better at making his calls and communication with the sideline as well?
London's the best at it, so we don't have to worry about that. And he's prepared. He's well prepared. He'll know exactly what we want in every situation. If something happens, I can't get a call, and he knows what calls we're going to have based off, you know, what they got in the game. So that is not a concern to me, at least, because I feel London's like having a coach on the field.
Jim, a lot of the guys have said they've been watching some Oregon tape. They said you guys have done it as a group. Some of the guys started doing that even before training camp opened. Why is that important? Why did you feel like that was a good indication of what these guys can do?
Well, one, we can see the tempo. That was the first thing. You know, we got some live tape that we could see what the tempo was like. And then, you know, obviously it's a good study. Now, they can't do everything because all the, you know, the different formations you run in college you can't run in this league. So, but they'll just find different ways to do it. But our guys are prepared. They're ready for it. They've seen everything and work good. You know, we'll just have to see when we get in the game. This will be a heck of a game.
When you go against an offense that runs the no huddle that'll try to trap personnel groups out there, does that change your approach to substitutions, or does it make you more hesitant maybe to go away from the base defense?
Not necessarily. You know, I think we can play in our base and stay in it all day against everything, so that's not a problem. And we've worked every personnel grouping. We've worked what we substituted, and we worked what we didn't. We couldn't substitute. So I don't think that's going to be an issue, at least from our standpoint.
From what you've seen to this point, what's your level of confidence that your play in the secondary will be improved this season? And in your mind, how much of that depends on Merriweather being healthy?
Well, I think this, first of all, with the young kids, you know, Bakari's made great strides since he's been here. I feel good about him playing. David Amerson, he's another guy he's made great strides since he's been here. We feel good about him. You know, we lost our young guy, but Brandon Jenkins done a nice job. So we got three young guys that are going to play on defense, and we feel great about it. And I think that's going to make us better in the back end, just because of those two and then the rush.
As Chip Kelly was talking on teleconference yesterday about how when he put his staff together, he took some pro style, obviously what he did at Oregon. How diversified as a whole is their offense based on what he showed at Oregon, and how much do you think that helps him keep opposing defenses guessing, because you don't know exactly what he's going to do in a game?
Well, you don't know what anybody's going to do exactly in a game until you get in the game. You got to have the ability to adjust to what they're doing and be flexible on what you're doing. So I can only go on what I've seen. I've watched 23, 24 Oregon films and watched what we did in preseason. If they can do anything else, God bless them.
Coach, you know, throughout the offseason, you've seen your squad. Then through the draft, you saw the additions. As you get ready for that first regular season game, what excites you about your unit? What are you most looking forward to seeing?
Well, we played well in the preseason, which, you know, obviously that doesn't mean much now. But if you go off what you've seen, you know, I thought we did a nice job in the preseason. We did a good job in the run in the pass game. And that's something we just got to keep growing on. If we can go from there and keep getting better and better, you know, I think this group has a chance to be pretty good.
As this isn't pertaining directly to Philly, but we haven't gotten a chance to talk to you. Jose Gums was a guy who came in on the last day of camp we don't know a whole lot about, who made the 53-man roster. What does he do that you like a lot?
Well, he's a guy that doesn't even fully understand the defense yet, but he was a guy that we thought was flying around, would make tackles, had good coverability, was fearless, had a pretty good football instincts. Things that you don't have, and we think he'll get better and better once he gets, you know, within the scheme. He came in late and was really impressed with what he did the last couple games. We kept those guys. We kept all those guys based off production in the preseason games. That's why those games are important.
Talking to some of your guys in the locker room about stopping the Philly offense, some of them talk about how discipline, assignment is important. And others are saying, yeah, but you got to really fly to the ball and hustle. How do you balance those things?
Well, I think it's a combination. I don't think there is a balance. It's both. You got to be disciplined. They make you be disciplined in what they're doing. You got to be, you know, you got to be able to tackle well, and then everybody's got to be in the right spot, and everyone's going to run to the ball. So they make you do it. I mean, that's the kind of offense. They spread you out. They use 11 guys. The quarterback's a running back, and they use everybody, and we got to use everybody.
With regards to Rakpo, he said, looking back at some of the things last year in the secondary, he said not being out there drove him nuts because he thought if he could have got to the quarterback here or there, it would have made things easier for the guys behind him. How much do you look at things like that with him coming back and how much that can transform?
Well, I agree with him. I think, obviously, if you have all your pass rushers or great pass rushers and pro bowlers like him, that it's going to help your back end. And, you know, I know he's excited about playing this game and, you know, first game back from being injured. And it gives you a special appreciation when you miss a year. Yeah, I think the players that get hurt and do that, it makes them appreciate the game a little bit more and understand when you come back, you know, how important it is to play every game like it's your last game, because it could be. And I think that's where Brian is.
Has Philly's defense is switching from the 4-3 to a 3-4. What do you remember about that transition and how hard that can be and takes time to get used to?
Well, you don't always have the right guys, and you know, I'm sure Billy Davis is kind of going through the same thing because, you know, just knowing, I know they got good football players on defense, you know, but I don't know if all those pegs fit in all the holes. So, but they got good players. But it takes time, and you got to know what you want, and you got to know what, you know. Obviously, he understands the scheme, and you got to have an understanding of what kind of players you're looking for to fit that. It doesn't happen overnight.
What were some of the issues? Was it hesitation by guys? Was it just guys just not in the right spots? What do you remember about that sort of transition?
Well, I just remember we were small. We didn't have the right personnel up front. You know, you're looking for certain type of players up front. You're looking for certain type of guys on the edge. You're looking for safeties that can do certain things. So it takes a little time.
Say, Jim, we've heard so much about the Chip Kelly offense and how creative it is and how it may change the game and things like that. As a competitor, you think about the chess match aspects of this. How does it strike you? Does it fire you up a little bit?
He does a nice job with the offense. I appreciate watching his film. You know what they do and what he did at Oregon. You know, obviously, he must have been a heck of a recruiter because he had about 35 wideouts running in and out. So. I mean, they're all good players, and running backs are good players. So, you know, but you do when you watch a film, it is creative. It's different than you haven't seen, but it'll be a good chance. It'll be a good matchup between us.
Is there a sense, though, from your perspective, that you have to dictate to the offense versus allowing that type of offense to to dictate the flow of the game.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you can say that necessarily. If you can dictate, you got to know what they're doing. You got to have a pretty good understanding of what they're trying to get done. I think they can do a number of different things, but I think once you get into it, we'll have to make some adjustments, like always, and we'll make some adjustments on the field and on the sideline. But that's kind of what you do all the time, anyways, no matter who you're playing.
As for all the talk about what Chip Kelly and his offense is going to bring in the new wrinkles, you guys have been obviously working on some different wrinkles. Do you have a lot more that you haven't shown so far, or would you say it's more kind of subtle, small improvements based on?
We game plan based off trying to win a game, and I think that's what we did best the second half of the season last year, and we'll continue to do that and use our players and try to get them in a position where they can be successful and we can win games.
Hey, Jim, with regards to Rambo, just his improvement during the preseason, where has he grown the most?
Probably in his tackling ability, taking better angles and understanding how to get them down. And, obviously there's different type of tackles. There's open field tackles, there's close quarter tackles, there's sideline tackles. And I don't know if coaches ever taught that before in college, but he's got to have an understanding where he's at in the field. Is he in the middle of the field and there's nobody left? Is he close to the sideline? He can use the sideline. Where's his pursuit? Where's he at? Is he in the box, out of the box? All that plays into tackling from his perspective because he's in the back end. If you're a defensive lineman, you just tackle the guy in front of you. It's not that hard. So it's I think that's probably the biggest improvement.